Today, at the University of Sao Paulo, where the bees were set free, scientists are using genetics to try to solve the problem that genetics created. Using various types of bees, bold and intriguing experiments are being attempted. All are focused on taking the killer instinct out of the killer bee. One technique is artificial insemination. Drones, the stingless bees that fertilize the queen, have been collected from special hives. These drones represent an extremely gentle European variety. One by one, they are carefully removed. Each drone is gently compressed to reveal part of its reproductive system. With a special micro syringe, drone semen is delicately drawn away. Meanwhile, an anesthetized killer queen bee is prepared for artificial insemination. The syringe containing semen from the drone is inched into position. Slowly, the captive queen is inseminated. Her genetic character is thus deliberately altered by science. The queen is then introduced into a hive. If the experiment is successful, the queen's eggs will bear a gentler bee. The hive will become less aggressive. Yet such experiments have had little impact. 90% of all killer bees live and breed in the wild, completely uncontrolled. Another attempt to solve the killer bee problem has been to produce mutant bees by exposure to high radiation. A mutant bee, which is physically unable to sting, has been produced recently. It may offer some hope for the future. In the movie Savage Bees, Dr. Norman Gary reenacted an actual killer bee attack. The death of a single bee releases a chemical odor that drives a nearby swarm into a killing frenzy.
Since the escape of this bee near Sao Paulo in 1957, the bees have rapidly migrated throughout most of South America. They're presently going through the Guianas, and they've just been reported in Venezuela. Should they continue their northward migration at 200 miles a year, they could reach the U.S. by 1990.
Killer bees could reach the United States much sooner, simply by stowing away on a ship bound for our shores. In 1972, at Richmond Harbor near San Francisco, a swarm of bees was found aboard a freighter. Before they spread, they were destroyed. The world's top experts identified them as killer bees. It turned out later they were mistaken. The problem is that killer bees and the honey bees common in the United States are nearly identical. As a result of the Richmond Harbor incident, a sophisticated technique to identify killer bees was invented. Wings and other body parts of suspect bees are carefully dissected. The parts are then projected. 25 specific features are precisely measured and recorded. The information is fed into a computer for analysis and an answer. It is the only way known to distinguish a normal bee from a killer. when the killer arrives here, there may be an additional impact. Every year, honeybees are used to pollinate billions of dollars worth of agricultural crops. The aggressive, hard-to-handle killer bee could make this impossible. The killer bee now predominates in most of South America, and it's spreading fast, quickly liquidating the few docile colonies that remain. This year, Dr. Gary visited the University of Sao Paulo. One of his objectives was to attempt again a test of the killer bee's aggressiveness. Viewed through an electron microscope, a bee's stinger is clearly a formidable weapon. It is not a single needle, but a three-pronged drill. The main shaft pierces the victim, while two jagged arms alternately stab downward, pumping venom. The venom is contained in a large sac above the sharp sting apparatus. Once inserted, the stinger will keep working until all the venom is pumped in. Wearing a special protective suit, Dr. Gary began the test. All that was required to arouse the bees was to dangle a black leather patch at the hive entrance. Killer bees react violently to black. The second patch on Dr. Gary's chest measures the intensity of the attack.
200 bees around my veil. The patch now is being stung. There must be 50 bees already have stung this patch on my chest. I'll continue to get them out. This is a maximum response. So far, I have received no stings. I hope at this moment there are no openings in my veil. By now there must be 300 or 400 stings in my leather patch. I can actually feel them pelting my leather gloves. They're coming out with such activity. It's amazing. I actually feel the bees hitting me. I made it about the same number of bees around the big camera. There's only one sting at this point that concerns me, and that's the one in my arm. I would estimate that the cameras themselves have at least 100, maybe 200 bees on there. Of course, they can't sting the camera.
Even as Dr. Gary left the hive area, the bees persisted in their attack. Killer bees will pursue a victim great distances, stinging all the way. Killer bees don't calm down easily. They remember their anger for as long as 24 hours. Long after the experiment was over, 500 yards away from the hives, even smoke would not stop numerous bees from continuing their attack. Killer bees are unlike any honey bee that we have known. Unless stopped, they will live up to their name. Steadily, millions of killer bees are swarming northward toward the United States. Scientists have suggested various ways to stem the bees' advance. Everything from introducing armies of docile drones that might dilute their aggressiveness to building a giant bee net at the Panama Canal. So far, nothing has been done. When the killer bees will arrive and exactly how they will behave when they get here, we don't know. For now, there seems to be little we can do but watch and wait.